You're still watching Prime Morning, and it's time for the news flash segment. It's the time where we delve into what the newspapers are reporting, and we also delve into topical issues. And today, we have to talk about the Afro Barometer report. And with regards to trust issues, where Ghanaians are telling us the institutions that they trust the most and those they least trust. Those who are saying that they will vote and those who are saying they will not vote. Those who are saying they trust in opposition party and those who are saying they trust in the incumbent or the ruling government. So we'll talk about all of that, and then we'll take a look at the manifesto for Movement for Change. I did mention last week that they shook Kumasi, and so you might not have seen it on social media, but they are working. And so we'll take a look at their manifesto. Before then, let me quickly read the newspapers, and then we can delve into our topic. Now, we want you to send your messages to us on 055-157-5757, 055-157-5757, and then we delve into our conversations. Be a part of our discussions all the time. I promise to read as many messages as possible. My name is Roslyn Felly. A big thank you to Franco Trading Enterprise for keeping us going all the time. If you're looking for any gadgets, I urge you to go to Franco for those gadgets. Is it mobile phones, television sets, CCTV cameras? Well, worry no more, because we have all of them. You can visit any of our shops, or you can download the app on your phone, which is Franco Trading app, or visit our website, www.francotradingenterprise.com. Franco Trading Enterprise, still phone papa pay fee. I'll start with the Custodian newspaper, the Custodian. NPA boss promotes clean cooking revolution in Africa. No terrorist activities in Ghana, NS Ministry replies Reuters. Natoshi Wu's Greater Accra region voters for Baumia, and Ayoko Boche to lead Commonwealth. Congratulations to Honorable Ayoko Boche. The next newspaper is the News Center newspaper. The News Center, quite new. I haven't seen this one. NIA registered 69,606 kids aged 6 to 14 years. Registration taking place in schools, children's homes, NIA offices, and other facilities. I like that they have said 6 to 14 years. So, because I know my daughter hasn't been registered and she doesn't fall within that age group, so I understand. Ghana rejects supply line for terrorist accusations. NPA boss leads charge for clean cooking revolution in Africa. Palime, I hope I get the name right. Palime Traditional Council inaugurated appeals to government for development, and Ayoko Boche unveils vision to bridge Commonwealth and citizens gap. The Republic Press is the newspaper I'm taking next. The Republic Press newspaper. GH cannabis kingpins crushed as UK authorities grab £4.3 million smuggling ring. Wow. £4.3 million smuggling ring. Boss CEO received top honors at 8th Ghana Energy Awards. Vote for NPP to promote your future, Napo tells nursing students. Mahama calls for constitutional review. Kaswa overpass repairs Accra-bound traffic to be diverted until November 6th. And so if you apply that route, that's the Kaswa route, please, you're being told that the traffic will be diverted to a different place until November 6th. Plead with you, okay? All right, so the next newspaper I'm going to take is the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The Ghanaian Times newspaper. Magdan set to build Adan Port to enhance marine transport logistics. World leaders congratulate Shirley Ayoko Boche on her election as Commonwealth General Secretary or Secretary General. Ghana WB signed $260 million deal to tackle energy sector inefficiencies. Tackling educational infrastructure, Get Fund initiates 11,248 projects nationwide, 7,000 completed, over 4,000 at various stages. My next newspaper will be the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The Daily Dispatch newspaper. I will lead NPP to total victory on 7th December, says Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Parliament is an intellectual platform, not a boxing ring. Napo to NDC MPs. There is need for Africa to address its clean cooking crisis. NPA's Dr. Abdul Hamid says so. And MPP's delayed allowance is better than NDC's cancellation allowance. Napo to trainee nurses. That will be all for the newspapers this morning. So on that note, I want us to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have more for you to stay. You're still watching the Newsflash segment, and my guests are seated and poised for the conversation. This segment is proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise. Still, phone, papa, pair, fee, whatever gadgets you're looking for, just go to Franco and we will sort you out. Now, today is going to be another level of Newsflash. Why do I say this? We are going to project the Afrobarometer report, where we'll have Winston Taki show us exactly what the Afrobarometer report is saying and explain it into details. And also today, for the first time, we have a man who is representing the movement for change. He's in the person of Nana Yao Sapong. Hi, Nana Yao.
Hi there.
How are you? First time coming? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
I've always wanted to come, but you see...
So we'll make you a regular then.
I
also have our very own one person who is dear to our heart, Benji Jewu up here. Hi, Benji.
The beautiful Roslyn.
How are you doing?
I'm doing
today?
well. How are
Great.
you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
How's your weekend?
Very eventful. Very, very eventful. Yeah. And Benji is representing the NPP. Of course, the man on his feet today, Winston Taki. Hi, Winston.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you one more time. How is everything, though?
Smooth, by the grace, you're taking a step at a time. You know how we do.
I was thinking I'll see you at Joe's Sing over Ghana. How come you were not there?
I joined online, actually.
Oh, online.
Unfortunately, too, I was on duty this weekend, so I couldn't possibly
come in.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. It was quite an eventful one.
I enjoyed it. Basically, it was well organized, and the motive was very good because we need, and as much as people are going to vote, we need spiritual backing, protection for the nation. So the agenda for peace is what everyone is advocating for. For him to venture in that direction, I think we commend Joe Meta for doing that.
Fantastic. All right, so we are going to take a look at the Afrobarometer report for 2024. Now, this was conducted in the month of August, and I just want you to see what the trust issues with regards to Ghanaians are. And Winston is here to do just that for us. But Winston, taking a look at this, what's the general impression of Ghanaians on this report?
It's very interesting because it's as if they sat somebody, one student down, and they asked him a question, and all the answers he provided are all marked and presented to the nation. Nonetheless, this is not just an opinion of one person. It's over 2,400 persons all over the regions, and 50% male, 50% female. They took into consideration the age gaps, the demography, what they do, and the affiliation to parties before they came to that conclusion. They used a language that the surveyors were able to understand, and therefore it appeared that the Afrobarometer report has been going on for several years now. So this time around is to assess the temperature before we go into the election. So I'll take you straight to the screen for you to understand the key findings in this report, and it's very, very interesting. Out of the assessment, most Ghanaians, that is one quarter of Ghanaians believe, that is over 47% believe the level of corruption in the last year has increased astronomically. I'll take you to the screen very shortly. So the interesting aspect has to do with the level of trust, institutional trust. So when the Afrobarometer report, when people were asked that, how much do you trust each of the following or haven't you heard enough about them to say, basically, the level of trust in institutions. The leading one that people least trusted is basically the assemblymen and women. Assemblymen and women. But when it comes to the most trusted organization, the Ghana Armed Forces are the most trusted, recorded 41% respondent over less than some people who are not quite sure among the list of 24%. Religious leaders have the most trusted. NGOs, CSOs, we have the Ministry of Health, traditional leaders are amongst the most trusted institutions. But least trusted, we have the presidency, the court, the electoral commission, the police, the opposition political parties, we have the New Patriotic Party and the members of parliament in that order. So presidency, the court, the electoral commission, the police, these are functional organizations within the executive with just the electoral commission and the opposition political parties all come into play. But we'll come to a part where you get to understand why the presidency and the members of parliament, the dynamics when it comes to corruption perception in that line. So let's go to the next slide, and you see a very interesting dynamics there. So the corruption, comparatively, the office of the president and the members of parliament, these respondents were asked a key question, that how many of the following people do you think are involved in corruption? One, or haven't, or are not involved in corruption, or possibly most of them or all of them are involved in corruption. So as you can see, these two institutions seem to be competing among themselves. In 2014, the level of corruption perception amongst MPs and presidency was 53%. In 2022, this is 2014, 2022, 55%. So the years between 2014 to 2022, the level of corruption seems to be equally between those years. Nonetheless, it fell down in 2017 to 35% and 36% between 2017 and 2019. But when you go...
Before you go on, one thing that I'm noticing now is that it looks like every 8 years, the people lose interest in the government. The people think that sitting government is corrupt. Because in 2014, 2012, we are looking at 33%. It shoots up to 2014. And then in 2018 or 2017, this is when we voted, Ghanaians were voting. It drops again because we had voted for a new political party to come into the space. So it dropped. People trusted the NPP. They had come in 2019. They still had the trust in them. But it came to 2014 and the trust issues has popped up where people don't trust them anymore.
It appears in the third year of every government, the level of trust goes down. So if you look at a trend, it tells you the level of perception. It appears that people assess every government based on performance. The temperature of the economy becomes quite heavy going to the election year because people try to compare the level of corruption within the government in the third year, because they look at whether, if you in the first 3 years, you're able to champion corruption, because that is one of every political person's or aspirant's message that will fight corruption. But if you do not show signs through the offices that you have authority over, you see the court and the police, all of them being the arms that the executive can use to fight corruption. If that is not done diligently, the people have an impression. And that's why you can't fight them, because it's their own prerogative nonetheless. So if you look at this trend, it tells you that in 2014, the level of corruption that is being perceived amongst the MPs and the people is just 3 percentage point difference, 54 and 51, the MPs and the people. So if it comes to this place, it's very disturbing, because anyone who sees their MP as a model of development, as a transformation leader, and the presidency as an arm that involves policy that holistically touches the individual. The presidency has the resources, has a budget to manage the affairs of the nation in terms of development, infrastructure, and all that. If that is not done in the way that they see, the corruption cases is what is seen there. So let's look at a very interesting, we'll come back to this particular slide soon. Let's look at more from the Afrobarometer report. And this is basically the trend that over the years we've seen in terms of the perception on corruption, institutional perception basically, on trust. So whether they trust this institution is the question that we ask. When it comes to the members of parliament, in 2012, 49% of people trusted the members of parliament. If you look at the trend, it reduced to 37% in 2014, increased in 2017 to 58%. From 2017 and 2019, it was just a marginal 10% difference. Nonetheless, the trend has been dwindling from 2019, 41%, 2022, 27%, 2024, 24%. If you look at the percentage change in between 2022 and 2024, it's been negative 3%. But the most difficult aspect is what was deduced in August, that is 5th August to 10th of August, according to the recent survey, we have a negative 25% that people least trust their members of parliament when it comes to their development. So it's very interesting going to this election.
It still brings us back
Yeah.
to this 8 years regime.
Absolutely.
Where people, every 8 years, lose some sort of trust. So a certain government comes, first 4 years,
Yes.
we love you, we trust in you, you can deliver, you are the member of parliament. By the time you hit your second term, the trust issues start setting in. We don't trust you. And that's why we are seeing these numbers. Because in 2017, we had the NPP coming in as a new government. People trusted in them. 2019, still the trust was there. And so the voting still went ahead with them. They still retained their seats. But now we are seeing a decline in there, in 24%.
We should be worried in terms of the presidency, which was in 2022.
2012?
Yeah, 2012, presidency 56%. It has reduced to 28% in 2024. If you look at the police, which is another functional institution that is supposed to enforce the law, it was 42% in 2012, but it reduced to 28%. So the key functional institutions in 2022, most of them were above the 50 percentage point difference.
2012.
But when you look, 2012 basically, but when you look at 2024, they are all below 30% in terms of trust.
Let me bring my guest
Yes.
in the conversation before we move on to the next one. Benjamin, looking at this, what's your general impression?
Rosalind, good morning to you and your cherished viewers. I am amazed a little bit. I am looking at the indexes of the courts and then possibly with the police, with how IGP Dampare has, transformed the Ghana Police Services. I was thinking that the index or the report would have given more points to the Ghana Police Service because the ordinary Ghanaian seems to have more trust in the Ghana Police Service led by IGP Dampare. So I am a little bit, amazed with these ones. With the court, I am also disturbed because, look at 2012, it has 57%, and then 2014, 44, rose up in 2017 to 59%, 48, and then 36, and then now it's 35%. Actually, it's not good for investment. If any investor is trying to come to the country, these are the indexes that they would look into.
What could be the reason
That's
why
exactly. I
people are
wanted to know the
losing
basis.
their hope in our court system, in our police system?
Right,
because
right.
I'll tie it to even the recent happenings where the accident took place at East Legon.
Right.
Now, people took to social media saying that they don't believe that this young man will face the law and we will see a credible result. People feel that he's going to escape the law because they had seen videos of his father being on the pulpit saying that for him, police can't control him. He just picks up the phone, calls one person at the top, and everything is sorted for him. So what is it that our court systems are not doing right? What is it that the police is not doing right, that people are not trusting them?
Naturally, if people have not even read the law, there is this tendency of having a conscience. So when whatever you do as a state agency, people know the difference between right and wrong. So ignorance before the law is not an excuse. So whatever action that is being done by either the police or the court, the outcome of it becomes a perception. So for people to trust and say, let me take my case to court, now it's become difficult because they perceive the judgment can be skewed against them, even though they have a case. So it's been consistent, and this is not just happened. Possibly the opinions were built over time, but the conclusion is what we've had. So for government or these key institutions to change the perception, they have to have a new paradigm shift within their structures.
Weston, I wanted to also ask if you think we're going to have a detailed report on these indexes. I mean, in the words of Obama, when he paid a courtesy visit on us during President May's time, he asked for a stronger institutions. And that's exactly what. So if you look at the numbers that are coming in, and we are not going to get the stronger institution, Rosalind is
It's quite worrying.
it's worrying, and I wish we would have that detailed report where we can dissect.
It's a survey. Survey provides you with
Yeah.
data.
Right. So
They
have the raw data.
Yes.
You know, where you see all the places that perhaps they went, the number, the age gap, and
Oh,
all
They
that.
have
yes,
everything.
it was in
Everything
the,
is in there.
It's in the report,
It's in the
right?
report.
Okay.
Everything is in the
So,
report.
yes, I
So,
think what's being
Nanaya,
considered-
let me bring you into this.
Sure.
Yeah.
You take a look at this. For you, in 2012, you were part of the NPP before you broke away from the NPP. Now we are seeing that even when it comes to the presidency or the president himself, there's loss of trust in there. What do you think is contributing to this?
Okay, thank you, Rosalyn. In 2012, I was a Ghanaian. I'm still a Ghanaian. And this has been so very consistent. Let us not pretend because there have been some few changes in the numbers. But this has been so very much consistent that when you have gotten out of the studios and you have met an ordinary Ghanaian on the street and you have questioned him in my local language, it's Ujia police voting. You and I always hear people say you can't have a policeman as a friend. You and I would always hear that the court is no one's friend. And these are issues that have consistently built up to where we are. Now, the daily activities and operations of these institutions is what has brought us to where we are. And the issue of protecting institutional public image is also a key factor. Now, with some of these institutions, they have tried to build a certain wall around their institutional image, but it's not working. It's not working because you are dealing with the ordinary Ghanaian who, when has no power or does not have power, but rather thinks that you should be able to protect him. You should be able to provide whatever that he or she needs as a Ghanaian citizen. So I'll give you an example. Do you think that in 3 months to come, or the next barometer survey, we would have the court, all right, performing better than it has done today? With what is happening with the court issuing cross-counter instructions to Parliament, with all this brouhaha? No, because the ordinary Ghanaian citizens, as you have said, tries to read the black and white of what is written in the Constitution and tells me that there are 3 arms of government that should not interfere, but then should be checked. And then we have an arm of government trying to interfere. And then we see that it is actually a section of a political institution that is pushing an agenda, a certain agenda.
That's what people think.
That is what it is. That is what people think. That is what I sit here, that is what I think.
That's what you also think.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Because if the rules of engagement are black and white, the rule says that you can serve a Speaker of Parliament or a Member of Parliament or the Legal Department of Parliament on Mondays. Because per the standing orders, when an MP or a Member of Parliament is on his way or is performing or is from an activity of Parliament, that is what the standing order says. You are not able to sermon or serve the person, whether criminal or whatsoever. And then we have the Speaker of Parliament agreeing beyond that with the Judiciary, says, listen, Mondays we don't go to Parliament. We have no activity of Parliament. Serve us on Mondays. And you have a court coming on a Tuesday to come and serve the Speaker when the Speaker has ruled. And we have all this brouhaha. And of course, I am an ordinary Ghanaian citizen. What do you think? That would be my perception.
Right.
Towards the court.
Okay.
Just like, you know, the very interesting thing. If you look at between 2022 and 2024, this is 2-year gap. All the key functional institutions, all of them are below, just above 30%, but most of them fall between 30 and 35% in terms of the only institution that has performed quite credibly is the armed forces. the Ghana Armed Forces, which I commend them for that. So all the generals and all the leaders in the Ghana Armed Forces, kudos to you. They've been able to maintain the pass rate of over 60% over the years. And that tells you the level of discipline. That means that
and just to chip in this, you know why the Ghana Armed Forces have always performed? Individuals are always scared to speak the truth to the army. You understand?
How I
in
don't
what
understand.
sense? We don't get you.
I don't
Okay.
understand.
So I'll give you an example. I don't know how many of you live in Kaswa, but there was this issue about Kaswa shooting military, blah, blah, blah. If you've gone to these Galamsey areas, they tell you that the military, when they were sent there, all right, were themselves also involved. Now, I would be able to come and sit here on set and speak freely about the Ghana Police Service. I'll be able to speak freely about the other institutions. But when you mention the military, the discussions on them is minimal. Why? We all know. You understand?
No, we don't
So,
know.
We don't know what
why?
you want to.
No, what I'm implying is that,
Yes.
see, the level of respect and fear that they have been able to instill in the ordinary Ghanaian citizen is so high that we are scared to even discuss when they fall.
So are you saying
You
that...
understand?
Oh,
Now, even
understand
members
where
of
it's coming
parliament,
Nana,
even members of parliament were scared to even speak to their faces when the military took over the Parliament House in, was it in January 2021? Yes, January 2021. Of course, you and I know that legally, constitutionally, the military was not supposed to be there.
but the military was sacked out.
You understand?
They were
That's what I'm
sacked.
saying. You see, the level of discussion we would be able to put on other institutions, we will not be able to put that same level of discussion on the armed forces.
Well,
So I have my own
I don't know.
issues.
I don't know, but I disagree
But
with
the data
you.
tells a different
No, so I disagree.
Well,
So I disagree.
you-
I understand
you-
where you're
Yes.
coming from.
Okay, Benji, why do you understand?
So no, I feel that you have, in one way or the other, I agree with you on a certain aspect. However, I feel that the Ghana Armed Forces have maintained discipline. In elsewhere, in other countries, if you go to Sierra Leone and Liberia, the level of
Corruption.
respect and all this
No, it's not there.
for their armies is very
Because they've
down.
seen war.
So when with this index, I would probably say they are professionals. I mean, they've maintained high level of discipline. It's hard to see the military out there doing any bad thing. They are always at their barracks, and so we need to commend them. I feel
See,
we have to.
the reason why I
We have
said
to
what I
commend
was
You
them.
don't
saying...
interested
yeah.
aspect.
We have
We
to
can
commend
say from this data that Ghanaians are asking for the military to discipline all these people.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. But
When it comes to trust levels.
the reason why I said I did disagree with him was that when it comes to the military,
Yes.
they are not supposed to operate within.
Right.
They are supposed to operate at our
Right,
borders.
right.
However, we've managed to rope them in. And so, yes, we might see a few of their flaws, but not as much as we are seeing the other flaws.
The other flaws.
So the fact that we are not talking about them doesn't mean we are not scared of them.
Right.
It's just because their flaws are not out.
Right.
Because when they go,
hardly see it.
we hardly see them.
Yeah.
They go out there to protect
That's
our
right.
borders, and we see the police. We interact with them always. We give them money. You meet them. Sometimes they'll tell you the whole day I haven't eaten. You give it to them.
for the road,
It is a
something for
look.
the weekend.
Exactly. We lose trust. When we have an issue, we quickly go to the police station. However it's handled, we know it's in our faces. But we don't go to the military. And so we don't know the flaws. And so it's difficult for people to talk about
Point out their flaws.
to point out their flaws. But it's not that people are
in
scared
the
of them.
Well,
Afrobarometer
you have a
report,
point.
One thing that came to light is that people trust independent media organizations
Yes.
more. So they find it that they get results. When it comes to trust, people want results. So they get results when they come to the media houses and put their issues out faster than taking it to the courts.
Right. Let's see your answer.
So the media is not in here?
The media is
The media
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
the media is
Well, I want to see that part as well.
All right, so the
No,
next
they-
one.
So,
They
okay,
perform
let's take the
quite-
next slide and look at a very interesting thing as well. So now, who is corrupt? That's the key question. Who is corrupt? The respondents were asked a simple question. How many of the following people do you think are involved in corruption or haven't, or you heard enough about them to say, basically, you've heard enough whether they are corrupt? So when you look at it, the key is, I think, the PPT. basically police, presidency, and tax collectors, tax officials. So the police are up there receiving 63% of opinion, with dissenting views being 31%. The office of the presidency, where there's 54% up there, with dissenting view of 36% as well, while tax officials receive 53%. I'll come to a figure for you to understand the tax official aspect. We do a comparative analysis there. The members of parliament, 51%. Judges and magistrates, 44%, with dissenting views of 47%, with electoral commission being the fifth on it.
I am more worried about the judges and magistrates than any other.
Okay, I think this...
Myself, when I went through the report when it was sent, that was my fear, especially in this election year, where almost all the other ones are being pushed, let me put it that way, all right? So you would have the presidency. The presidency is on the line now, okay? The legislature is on the line today. Now, the only arm of government that is not on the line, that should be able to mediate when we cross that line, is the court. And if our trust in the court and our perception about the court being corrupt is this much, then we should be scared of tomorrow.
By all parties involved.
By all parties involved. I chanced on a video that was made by, I don't know if it was a preacher or motivational speaker, that said that the wicked man would always refer you to the court because he knows that he's able to control the court. Now, when I chanced on that video, then this report was sent. All right, so then I asked myself, could it be a coincidence or is it indeed true?
Benji, what about you?
No, I mean, I think Nana is actually, in the right direction. It's a bit alarming when you see the court coming in with this, percentages and all that. But Rosalie, my question is, with perception, it has to do with education, okay? I am amazed that the Ghana Police Service is not growing. But, the level of trust that we have in them these days is increasing.
No, you have in them.
It's based on experience.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
When IGP Dampare came in, before he came in, it was different. But now, I mean, if you go to the various police, there's been a level of development. I am shocked that I'm not seeing that in the numbers yet.
So I mean internal development or external?
In every aspect of the Ghana Police Service. Winston, if I ask you, in the last 5 years and now, have you seen any growth in Ghana Police Service? What would you say? Is it that the numbers are same, like over the last 5 years?
Well,
or you've seen some development? Like, okay, right now, I think, Dampare came in, and that's exactly what opinions the ordinary Ghanaian is saying.
Corruption might be different. I think we'll move on to the next slide.
But just a
corruption might be different from building an institution or development. Changing uniforms, giving them K9 dogs, putting them on the street does not stop them from being corrupt.
Rosalie, you think still they take 1 CDs on the road and all that?
Oh, now it's 50.
Oh, really?
1,500.
I haven't seen it. Seriously, I haven't seen it. Never will they stop me on the road. Never will they stop me on the road and take the money from me.
Before we get to you, let me touch on these ferocities before we come to the opinions. So the non-governmental organizations, NGOs, are the least corrupt institutions with 18% feedback, and private media journalists, 21%, such as Rosalind and I, yes, us.
We are very credible.
Very, very credible. Multimedia group.
Rosalind is happy with
Basically, I want to tie media to the police.
1 minute before I'll come back to you. Let me touch on this. So can we go back to the initial slide? Okay, let's touch on this. All right, so traditional leaders, 29%, business executives falling between assemblymen, and they and assemblymen are seen as the same level of corruption. So assemblymen, when it comes to corruption, just see yourself as a business executive, basically. So let's look at the next slide. We'll come back to this for your opinion, basically.
Okay.
So this is the level of corruption in Ghana. We are going to look at the level, how high it is. So the red one basically tells us how it has increased. The red line you see there tells us how it has increased. The yellow one tells us it has stayed the same, while the black one tells us the level of depreciation. That is, it has gone down. So if you look at between 2014 and 2017, it was very high as 83% in 2014 when we talk about corruption. And comparatively, between 2014 to 2024, it has appeared to be in the same tandem, nonetheless, a little lower compared to 2014. So in 2022, corruption increased from 53% to 77%, and it has maintained slightly to 74%. So corruption doesn't seem to be coming down any now or anytime soon. It only came down in 2017, that is by 36% to 39% thereabouts, but it maintained by 15% between 2017, between 2022 to 2024. So corruption there are teaching, you know, are teaching.
So I guess what I wanted
whilst we're touching on corruption, now we look at the risks of retaliation for reporting corruption. So whether you can decide to go and report corruption, what are the outcomes? So people believe that they cannot report corruption because of fear, which is the red line, whilst the risks of retaliation, that is, if you report, the consequences will come back to you. Negative consequences of reporting corruption is the blue one there. So out of it, 58% believe that when they report corruptions, that was in 2019, the consequences will come back to them, whilst that was in 2019. 2022, 68%, whilst 71% in 2024. So now people don't even, 61% in 2024. People believe, okay, that's 69, basically. People believe they can't report corruption. They fear to report corruption, basically. They fear to report corruption.
I think it's really shot high, and I'm not surprised because a few people that we have even called to speak on certain, topics will decline and tell you that once they do that, they are victimized, and so they will not speak on issues that are pertaining. And so I'm not surprised with that one in particular.
In 2020, between 2012 and 2024, it appeared that the level of performance when it comes to fighting against corruption has increased, basically. The government, that is very badly, according to the respondent, between 2022 and 2024, the government's performance on corruption has been very bad. That is the feedback there, from 85% to 82%, just 3% percentage point difference there. So that is the key aspect that I need you to concentrate on. When it comes to the key findings in the report, popular support for election as the method of choosing leaders has consistently remained high since 2022. That is, people still believe in election or voting for their leaders. Majority, which is 72% of Ghanaians, do not support lowering the voting age from 18 to 16
I don't
years.
support either, though.
Basically.
I don't support.
6 in 10 citizens say the 2020 general election was completely free and fair. Free and fair with minor problems. A candidate's honesty, which is 90%, when it comes to choosing leaders, this is what the people think, that a candidate must have 90% of honesty. And just recently, I was having a discussion with someone. He says, to be a politician, you must first of all graduate from being a liar. And I said, no, that's not the case, nonetheless. Popular support for election, which is people believe that election is the right way for choosing leaders. So the question was asked, which of the following statement is closest to your views? That is 1, we should choose our leaders in this country through regular. So the should choose leaders is the red one. You get there. So people still believe or trust the electoral process. Now, when it comes to free and fair election, in 2022, in 2012, 39% believe in free and fair election. The figure still went down to basically 32% in 2024, whilst when it comes to not free election, 50% expect not free election in this coming election. So it appears that still people believe in the electoral process, but whether it is free and fair, they still expect minor problems of about 28% in this data. Let's look at the next slide. Now, when we look at fear of intimidation in this year's, that is in 2022 election, this is the opinion that happened.
This was 2020.
Yes, this was
fear
2020.
Fear of intimidation of
basically.
2020 election.
So
okay.
That time, people did not have fear in the election. 85% said they believe that there will not be any intimidation during the election.
To vote,
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel it in your thumb.
Yeah, I went to vote.
Somewhat, or 40% believe the election was not free and fair. So people had trust in 2020. Now let's look at violation of ballot secrecy. That is, we go to the ballot, you tell people who you voted for, basically. So in 2019, it was 78%. But this time around, in 2024, people believe that they are not likely to break their secrecy. They'll not tell you who they vote for. They'll show you on their ballot sheet, basically. So that's what is going to happen in 2024. Voter apathy, would you vote or not?
Quite interesting here.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I actually stayed there for close to 10 minutes trying to understand, especially with the CPP supporters.
If presidential elections were held tomorrow, that is tomorrow.
Even today.
Which party's candidate would you vote for? That's the question. So CPP supporters, 28% said possibly they would not vote. NDC supporters, 1% would vote. NPP supporters, 6%, while not close to any party or not willing to vote is 24%. While those who said they will refuse to vote is 24%. So these people here my key,
in the same bracket.
They are my key disturbance figure here, because if they say they will not vote,
48%.
that means the parties who are supporting their candidate will determine who will rule the country in the next 4 years, basically. So this figure here tells you...
Can we, Brenda, please, is it possible to go back one step? Let's take a look at it. If presidential, so the question that was asked, if presidential elections were held tomorrow, which party's candidate would you vote for?
Basically.
Okay.
So now that you know this opinion, know that they are all built up to the coming election. Now, let's look at the next slide, which is very interesting there. So what will influence voters' choice in 2024? So I told you earlier on that is the honesty of the candidate, which is 73%, the candidate character, which is 70% as well, campaign promises are the least, which is people...
Don't believe in the promises anymore.
They don't believe in the promises anymore. 72% don't believe in what they come and tell us, oh, do one this, one that. All of them will not come to light. Candidates' running mates, 21% do not consider the running mate as a key figure in this election, whilst 32% say it doesn't even matter at all. 49% believe the candidate doesn't matter at all in the running mate when it comes to choosing a presidency. So whether you choose the best or the worst, they look at you, the president, in terms of that. Money or gift, whether you give gift, some of them say it doesn't matter at all.
We go take them. We don't go vote for you.
I don't go vote for you. Candidates, whether you belong to a tribe, people don't consider it at all, which is 64%, which is a high pass there. When it comes to choosing a candidate, whether you're a Muslim, Christian, you belong to Buddhist, is not a factor in any of this. So just know that the key figure, which is very important, is the honesty and the character. That is the key ballot when you go to this election. So presidential, this is the last slide, which we'll touch on before we take up views. Approach to voting in 2024. Respondents were asked a simple question. Please tell me which of the following best describes how you intend to vote in 2024. That is the question that we're asked, the presidential and the parliamentary elections. So how are you going to vote? Presidential and parliamentary candidate from the same political party. If you belong to a party, 58% responded they will vote for candidates that belong to their own political party, both the presidency and the parliamentary candidate. 50% responded to, say, presidential and parliamentary candidates from different political parties. So if they don't belong to your party, but they'll still give you your vote, 15% there. Independent presidential and parliamentary candidates, 6% believe they'll vote for independent and presidential candidates. Movement, I think you fall in this category. Yes. Other combinations, not candidates from the same political party, 1%. Not decided on how I am going to vote, 7% is a very disturbing number there. So people are still undecisive. They've seen the experiences of voting for a long time. They've stood in the sun. Some of them have received slap because they were trying to exercise their franchise. And so now they have believed justice has not been done. So they don't find any reason to vote. I will not vote at all, 9%. And then see the boy fool. He say, boy, no go vote. Don't know or refuse to vote. So some people don't even know the political parties. They don't even know the candidate. They don't know even the promises or the campaign messages.
And they are Ghanaians.
They are Ghanaians. All they know is that there's political paraphernalia that has been displayed. They meet and congregate, they dance, music, vote for me, I'll do this. They see it, but they don't know what is going on. So that's the key figure there. So this is what the Afrobarometer report has given us for the second quarter of this year. So you've seen what has happened. It tells you the opinions, the temperature going to the election, the key institutions in terms of trust, the level of corruption, and all that needs to be done going to the election. So these are opinions of over 2,400 personnel that were taken from across the country. Afrobarometer report has been doing it consistently, and it tells us the temperature going to the election. This one doesn't look good for Ghana going into the election. We hope that things change going forward, where trust levels in institutions are brought back to a maximum level. Rosalind, over to you.
Winston, thank you very much. And I want my guests to actually speak a little bit about this. I have to ask them a few questions. Now, I know that as a political party, you've also done your own, research. You've done your polls, trying to see what people are voting for. Does it tie to what you have gotten so far?
Well,
Benji,
Rosalind, I am amazed with some of these figures. I honestly feel that perception over time has to tie down with education as well. For instance, you wouldn't want to, like I said earlier on, you don't want to say that all our religious leaders are corrupt. Some may, or some are. So the perception that is coming out, today is not really good for us. On the level of the presidency, I beg to differ because, this president that we have, we all know has been very, very disciplined, and our President Akufo-Addo has been very disciplined. And with the initial beginning of bringing in the office of the special prosecutor, or would let the ordinary Ghanaian also know that the man was ready and is still willing to fight with corruption. So with this index or the percentages or this report that is coming out today, I have a different, twist to all of these things. On corruption, we've also seen that, with the initiation of the digital system that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia
how's that fighting corruption?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Temaport, where these Goro boys were then in charge of the port, they are not happy that certain amount of monies that they used to get, because there was no system in being put in place as at that time. If you go to DVLA, these Goro boys are not happy that right now you don't have to pay any money.
You see, even with the survey that was done, that's not the only, place that people spoke about corruption. If you check it, most of the places where the corruption is spoken about the presidency, we don't know where the digitalization comes into presidency to stop corruption. So the corruption aspect is not just about digitalization. How many people have been exposed or have been, we've heard about corruption issues related to them, that we have seen prosecution go on with regards to them, that we have seen them face the law, that we say that, yes, they've been found guilty or not found guilty. That is what
what question was asked then? Rosalind, we must as well also, analyze the kind of questions that were put out to these people that were interviewed for this report. What question were they asked? And on what grounds were they saying all of these things to put together to bring out this report? So if you come out to ask the ordinary Ghanaian, do you have any belief or trust in a politician? Ordinarily, they will say, no. I have read reports.
Why should that be so?
Well, because, in time past, or maybe, today, people still do not have. A Harvard report seeks to suggest in Africa that 9 out of 10 people completely, they don't have any trust in politicians. 9 out of 10. So So Nanayo and I, we have to work hard to put that reputation back.
But you see, when we take a look at the Afrobarometer report, one thing that we notice is that every year that is done, the numbers or the figures changes. And so which year were the politicians doing something right and which year were they not doing something right? Of course, that is the reason why we are seeing what we are seeing. Because if in 2012, the numbers were good, in 2020, the numbers were good, and in 2024, the numbers are not good, then obviously something hasn't been done right. And that is what we have to start taking a look at, and not about, yes, I get you, digitalization might have fought a part of or an institution. However, if you take a general overview, the corruption level has increased in the eyes of Ghanaians.
That's what I'm saying, that, I mean,
I'll give you 1 minute
with their
report,
report,
go to Nanayo.
you know, with their report, we are not disputing whatever it is, but, you know, you just don't accept any report. Sometimes we need to sit down and analyze critically. We need to analyze the kind of questions that were asked. And I'm saying that, you know, the level of understanding that we have about the Ghana Police Service, for instance, for me, right now, if you ask me about Ghana, I would probably say there's been a lot of discipline in that area.
All right,
so you cannot just, you know, come out with this report. I feel that we need to analyze more.
Thank you. Dana, for you, do you think that this particular report is genuine?
Rosalind, I think that there's this adage that there is no smoke without fire, all right? Whether it is genuine or not, this is somebody's work. This is not the first time they have released this kind of report. And so it is important that we take our time, read through, identify the flaws, and see whether or not we are able to work on them. Now, we need to also have the understanding that the researchers or the surveyors did not just come up with these indicators, all right? And they didn't just arrive at these findings. But then there are certain characteristics or sequence of events that has led to the numbers they got and the findings we have. We didn't just get to a point where Ghanaians will say they do not have trust in these institutions. It started from somewhere. Now, my brother touched on the presidency, so I just want to use that also so that we are on the same page.
Sure. Please, I'll give you 2 minutes to make that point, so we go for a quick break. We have to go for a quick break and come back.
Break even hydrate. So, you see, certain events, the arrogance of power, lifestyle audit, interferences, agency interferences, all of these pile up to define what corruption is. And this is what will lead to whether or not we are able to trust that institution. Okay? So if you go to the presidency, they will say, these boys just scheme, and look at them. They're driving in V8s. They have a lot of houses. They travel in business class. They talk on radio and on TV with some level of impunity. So when you are defining corruption and trust, you would, if you're not careful, you might forget about these elements. But this is what leads to it. So you are forced to believe that these indicators are indeed true. Now, to deal with this corruption is not just about media propaganda or trying to protect an institution's image, but there should be a deliberate policy, a deliberate roadmap to deal with this canker.
All right. So I have to take a break right now. And before we go, I just want you to know that Ben F. Singh is on the line. And so right after the break, we'll be speaking with him. Do stay with us. And you're still watching Prime Morning. The segment is a news flash segment proudly brought to you by Franco Trading Enterprise, Steel Phone, Pepper Perfi. Nanayao from Movement for Change was making a point before we took a break. And today we are taking a look at the Afro Barometer Report, which was done in the month of August. And certain findings are quite, I'm surprised at the findings so far. I know Benjamin is also saying that for him, he can't really tie it to their findings because they have fought corruption very well. And so when it comes to trust issues and corruption-related issues, he doesn't fully agree with the Afro Barometer report. However, Nanayo from Movement for Change is also telling us the reason why we are seeing this report today. Nana?
Yes, so as I was saying, there is a need to have a deliberate effort to be able to deal with this canker. And so one of it has to do with leadership, all right? Now, there should be that kind of leadership that would demonstrate a high level of personal integrity. You understand? And you see, I'll tie into what he was talking about with the Ghana Police Service. Now, when Dampari took over, you'll notice that he put in so much effort to be able to clear a certain perception and build a certain institutional image. And so he would walk about with some members of his management. He would walk about with camera guys to be able to show to Ghanaians where they have been. There is an issue that involves a police and a citizen. In 30 seconds, Dampari and his team are in their house and they are actually joining together to bring out the best solution. So there is a need to push that leadership of personal integrity and that political willingness to be able to fight corruption. And that is one thing that I love about Alan Tremontin. He has demonstrated over the years, from the time of President Kufuor up until now. I always ask people, you have been in the media space for a very long time. You have been following Ghana's politics for a very long time. Are you able to pinpoint to one personal, private activity or public activity that involves Alan Tremontin that would dent his image or point to him as being corrupt? So when you have such a person being a leader and pushing such an agenda, it helps. The other aspect has to do with the agencies. There are too many agencies fighting corruption.
Well, talking about that, it's about the results and not about the number of agencies. And so I'll come back to you. Ben Efson has joined us again, so I'll come back to you, and Benji, I'll come back to you as well. Good morning, Ben Efson. Hello, Uncle Ben.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you today?
I'm good. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've seen the Afrobarometer report, and people actually, when they see these reports, they wonder if these polls are a true reflection of what could happen in future. And so they want to know that, do polls really tell what will happen during elections?
Well, I think that I've done polls for 23 years, and I think that there are two factors which determine a party's fate. One, if there is enough percentage in your strongholds who come out to vote. And two, where majority of swing voters will vote for. Because if you have your strongholds and progressively you are not getting the turnout, and from the previous election you get a 10% reduction in your stronghold voting for you, and then the swing votes don't vote for you, you are doomed.
Okay, so it tells us that the polls could work, but it all depends on the figures that we see, right?
Yes, that's it, yeah.
Okay, now when people are voting, what are the things that they consider to vote?
Oh, I think that when one first on your stronghold, I think that they don't think that you've identified with them enough. So there isn't that urge to come out and vote for you. For the swing voters who are the kingmakers, they will look for what to expect. If you are new like Bamia, what have you convinced them you can do a better job? Or if this is your last try, another try by like Mahama, whether when he was president, there are certain things that he has promised to improve. So these are the things, especially the swing voters would take a decision on. And then your strongholds, you must have gingered them enough to get up to go and queue to vote for you.
Now, this year is quite an interesting one because we have the MPP trying to break the eight with a new candidate, and we have the NDC trying to come back with an old candidate. And so what would people be thinking about when they are going to cast their vote this year?
We've been, usually, normally I release my final post 2 weeks to voting so that people don't say, well, I'm trying to influence. But we've been doing polls for the past year and a half. And without giving out whatever we've gotten so far, I think that especially for the swing voters, they will look out for what they should expect. They will look out for how they believe what you want to do and what you want to achieve. I think that, for example, for NDC, if they get 32% in the MPP stronghold of Ashanti and 42% in the other stronghold of Eastern region, they are likely to win.
Okay.
Now, for the NPP, if they're able to get over 72% in Ashanti, and Eastern, if they get 62%, they're also likely to win.
Okay.
If, for example, the NDC, they don't get enough votes from their stronghold, that is the Volta and the northern regions, they are likely to have difficulty in winning. So it's a two-pronged attack. One, getting your supporters in your strongholds to come out and vote. And two, convincing the swing voters that they should give you the nod.
Okay. Now, for the Movement for Change, a group like Movement for Change, when they went to the Ashanti region just a week ago, they pulled the crowd in Ashanti region. Do you think they are the force that could actually mess up the vote in the Ashanti region for the NPP?
One of the things I can say is that people should not be swayed by crowds. In the past, when I started polling about 20 years ago, one of the first things which struck me is we have certain constituencies we've been using, and some of the votes of the parties in some of the constituencies, I mean, at the end of voting, if you compare the votes their presidential candidate got, for example, it is always about a fifth or a tenth of the crowd they normally pull. So judging by crowd, if you, for example, you are going to do a rally in an area you've never been to, with money and T-shirts, you get people to wear your T-shirt and come and attend your rally. So for me, it's a bit dangerous to use crowds. For movement for change, from that one, I can see that if Mr. Chamartin, for example, gets 2%, I'll be very surprised, countrywide. Very, very surprised.
Okay. Wow. All right, thank you so much, Uncle Ben. Thank you for joining us. But do you think that any of these new, political parties or groups springing up could pull a surprise this year?
Pull a surprise as to winning?
As to probably winning.
Oh, no. It's between NDC and PP.
Okay.
I mean, if the new ones, anyone gets 5%, the person would have done very, 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 very well.
Okay.
Because since 2000, apart from NDC and PP, only one person had gotten 1.1%. That was Bujitano and Reform Party. They got 1.1. The rest has always been under 1%.
Okay.
So if Alan Chamartin gets 2% nationwide in his first time and so on, with 2%, would have done very, 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 very well.
I see. All right. Thank you so much, Ben Efsin, for joining us this morning. We are very grateful.
Thank you.
And Ben Efsin is the editor-in-chief with Daily Dispatch. Benji, Ben has said that crowd is not a decider to elections.
Right.
However, we also know that Alan, coming from the Ashanti region, he's a very big force there. And so do you agree with what Ben is saying, or you think that Movement for Change, the NPP, you are from the NPP, you ought to watch your back with Movement for Change?
Rosalind, growing up, I have always watched Uncle Ben Efsin with his polls. He's a very credible pollster. And he has enormous experience in this field of, study. Uncle Ben Efsin has run so many polls over the years, and all of them, most of them have come to play. It is true that the Nana Sapon and, Chief Alan, as we all know him, shouldn't be deceived by crowd. They had a good show.
But the NPP should be deceived by crowd?
I mean, that's a general public warning to everyone. It's a public service announcement to all the political parties that you do not determine, your winning of an election by the crowd that you pull on walks or whatever campaign trail or rallies. No. In 2016, the NDC had the most. Remember Manchabona when they went there? The one in Cape Coast Stadium as well. But still they lost. So crowd gathering or pulling may be significant. Sometimes it helps those who haven't decided that, okay, looking at this number of people that are coming out, I think I should join. So it's a good strategy for marketing or to sway individuals who have not yet decided to vote.
Okay.
And I agree with Uncle Ben. Movement for Change is similar or annexed to us. They came out of the NPP. And I strongly believe that at the end of the day, Chief Alan may pull some,
surprises?
I mean, I don't think surprises, but in terms of surprise, I think he's going to be shocked that perhaps he's from the Ashanti region and he would have expected that they would come out to vote for him because of his allegiance to where he's coming from. The good people of Ashanti, we also have a running mate from the same region. And in fact, if you look into choosing the two, who is Napo and Alan Chamartin, I believe obviously people will really go in for Napo because of the things that he has done in Menchia and the kind of like resonance that he have.
But looking
with
at the
good
polls,
people
they
of
don't
the
really
Ashanti.
consider the running mate.
Exactly, it's true. But in our terms, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is from the north, and Napo is coming from our stronghold to complement Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Right.
So I know that eventually
Again, they
it
say
is going to result in...
ethnicity doesn't really matter when it comes to voting for Ghanaians. Ethnicity, religion, the running mate, they are not the main factor.
Well,
the main person is the flag bearer of the party.
I beg to differ because I know that we were not having numbers when it comes to the northern region. We only had about almost about 6 seats or something like that in the northern region.
But you haven't won yet. We haven't voted yet.
Exactly.
So you don't
but
know
you see,
the seats
in
you get.
2016, the result that trickled in from the northern region when we had Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and in 2020, we increased those numbers because of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Okay.
Now you can equally do the math and say, okay, with these projections, we are likely to win more seats when we have been able to make our vice president
Nana.
the flag bearer of our party.
Thank you, Benjamin. Nana, so Benefson is telling you not to be swayed by the crowd. And for him, again, he's saying that movements for change should even be congratulated if you get even 2%. What percentage is movement for change looking at getting?
Well, at least Benefson has been candid enough to have recognized the fact that movement for change is in the race and that we would perform. You understand? I think that if you had asked Ben some days back, he would have told you or written movement for change off, or would have written Alan Tremontin off. And so, in the same vein, he's been able to recognize the fact that we are in the race. I assure him that on the 7th of December, when Ghanaians have gone out there to cast their votes, he should be willing enough to also come back on this same platform to say congratulations to Alan Tremontin. Now, every criticism that any of these pollsters have made, any findings they have brought up, we have been able to work on it. If they tell us today that crowd does not matter, but yet they go to the voter region and they pull up a crowd and they come to sit on the media space and jubilate that they've been able to pull the numbers in voter region, and so the NDC should be aware of their performance in the voter region. Why should they not say same when we have been able to paint the entire of Ashanti region yellow? And of course, Rosalind, just for your information, we are going to paint the entire of Greater Accra yellow on Saturday, and the numbers will be out there. Alan Tremontin has performed as a minister. In every single household, he has made an impact. His performance are there to show. The achievements are there to show. We need not to mention it. As Trade and Industry Minister, then, now, before he resigned, he's been able to create jobs, sustainable jobs. He's been able to draw up policies that has brought about very serious and significant, impactful economic figures. The AFCFTA, the automobile, and many of these other policies he has brought up with. Now, it is only Alan Tremontin who is able to come up with roadmaps when there are issues. And as I was saying, talking about corruption.
So you agree that you will, or you believe as a group, that you're going to pool about 5% of the votes in the Ashanti region?
So do you think that the NPP or the NDC can perform better than Alan Tremontin, looking at our current economic situation, looking at the current level of corruption, looking at their manifestos that they have put out, comparing it to the Great Transformational Plan? Do you think that the ordinary Ghanaian who is looking for a job, the ordinary Ghanaian who is looking for somebody he can trust, the ordinary Ghanaian who is looking at somebody who is not corrupt, the ordinary Ghanaian who is looking at somebody with a high personal integrity, would go into the voting booth today and vote for any of these duo and leave out Alan Tremontin? No.
Okay.
The captains of industries have one person they trust, and that is Alan. Why? Because he has performed, and it is in him they believe that can do better when it comes to these policies.
All right.
Now, if you currently as we speak,
minute to land, please.
Currently as we speak, if you want to do business in Ghana, or if you want to go for a loan to do business in Ghana, it ranges between 35 to 45%. Are you able to do business and compete with somebody who is in another jurisdiction, who is getting loans on single-digit interest? No. And these are the factors we are looking at. And I was also telling you, if we want to actually fight corruption, as Alan has indicated, there are too many agencies. Why are we not able to bring up all of these agencies, synchronize them into an anti-corruption czar, which Alan has proposed already? And then we know that there is a proper definition for corruption. There is one body that is responsible for corruption, so that when you want to go and report an act of corruption, you know where to go. Now, if you want to go and report an act of corruption, you do not know whether to go to, what's his name, the special prosecutor. You don't know if you have to go to Shiraj. You don't know if you have to go to Yoko. You don't know if you have to go to... Why did we not consolidate all of it, which Alan has proposed?
All right.
Why are we not able to consolidate all the legislations that has to do with corruption into one? And you know why they are not doing it? Because they themselves are guilty.
All right, Nanaya Sapong. This is all time will permit us, because we did the polls, so time, it took away a lot of our time.
I was going to say a very good congratulations to Honorable Shirley Ayoko-Botwe on her election as a General Secretary of the Commonwealth Board of Nations. I think she has enormous experience to lead that. Do you know that, our 90 days, ratification with the people of South Africa was as a result of her multi-bilateral trade with South Africa. I know as she has won this General Secretary, 90 days in UK will be possible. Ghanaians, can go to the UK for 90 days, visa-free. And I know she can. I know what she can do. So a big congratulations to her as well.
Yeah, congratulations to her.
Yeah.
I mean, she did extremely well for Ghana.
Right.
And I pulled a joke. I told someone that, you see, when Ghana was able to win the bid through Alan to host the Secretariat of the AFCFTA, the world got to know that indeed Ghana is able to consolidate the
I mean, that was a good one.
Chief
Alan did.
Okay, so congratulations to you, Honorable Shirley Ayoko-Botwe. You are currently the Commonwealth General Secretary. Congratulations to you.
Elect, they've not sworn her in.
So she'll be sworn in, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes. Anyway, this all time will permit us. Now, on Saturday, we have the Joy Sports Invitational Games that took place at the Legon Stadium, and it was something else. Now, I didn't even know that my CEO could play like that. Listen, my CEO, Kedansa, scored 3 penalty kicks. 3 out of 5. Out of 5. Like, hey! I don't think Ronaldo...
No, but who was in the goalpost?
No, that's small goalpost, so you play.
No, but who was on... So it's just a small one?
Yes, a small one.
Okay, small post.
Yes,
small post. It will be a name.
And also be a name. But still, Ronaldo to be sure.
Well, can
you do it, Nana?
What can
I want us to look at what he did. I just want us to see. Okay, so you see how he has done his leg. See, only a professional can kick like that. That is how a professional kicks. Boss, you do all.
I was said next
during the sports
negotiation,
we'll bring more to you, and you see how it's happened. I mean, look at our bosses. These are CEOs of various companies, and they did a penalty shootout. Congratulations to all of them. See, it was a beautiful event. And so, if you didn't attend this year's own, next year you have to be there as well. You have to be there. And we had so many. Hey,
that was what I was expecting to see.
Emily, this is Emily,
a female play.
Emily is the general manager for Joy Prime, and look at that.
Nice.
Her posture alone is kicking that ball. She scored all. All right, so this all time will permit us, but I'm excited about Made in Ghana Fair because I love Made in Ghana food. Yesterday, I attended an event that served only Made in Ghana foods, and so I'm excited about this one. Now, this time around, it's not just about the food, but the clothes, the shoes, everything made in Ghana. It's happening from the 14th to the 17th of November at the Good Park. We have various activities that will be taking place. There'll be fashion show, there'll be cooking competition, there'll be so much that will be happening. If you want to have a stand, you can actually call the number on the screen and book a stand. Or you can send a message to us. We'll still, reply to you and get the details and, help you book a stand. So to participate, the number is on the screen. Just call the number and be a vendor at our Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. Whatever you do, it could be, skin products, it could be hair products, it could be oils, it could be body splash, but it's made in Ghana, clothes made in Ghana, bags made in Ghana, food made in Ghana, everything made in Ghana. We will do it. We'll display everything for you. I want to say a very big thank you to all our sponsors for putting this together. We can't wait for 14th to the 17th. And of course, the Big Chef cooking competition is always on every Sunday at exactly 5 p.m. Yesterday, another school got evicted. Wow, Charlie. Or you people that you are not voting for your favorite school too, you don't want to vote. Why? Why? And then you come and tell us that your favorite school didn't win. Vote, oh, vote. So this is what happened yesterday, where one of the tertiary institutions, unfortunately, was kicked out. We'll definitely bring you excerpts of that later on. My name is Rosalind Fairley, and I want to say a very big thank you to you, Benjamin Jawapia, for being here today. And Benji represented the NPP, and of course, Nanayal Sapong, who represented Movement for Change. Thank you so much, Nanayal, for being here too.